For decades, American power rested on one simple truth. America never stood alone. It stood with allies, with shared values, with trust that multiplied its strength. Now, stop. Look at the world in 2026. America's closest allies are no longer whispering concerns. They are issuing joint warnings to Washington. They are rebuking the United States at the United Nations. They are scaling back cooperation. Some are quietly redefining America itself as a security risk. This is not the aftermath of a lost war. It is not an economic collapse. It is something more disturbing. A rupture from within. As Donald Trump repeats one line, America is respected again, the world is sending a very different signal. Not with speeches, with actions. Allies are aligning, not around America, but around each other. If this unsettles you, it should. Share this if you believe alliances still matter. Because to understand what is happening now, we must answer one question first. How did America's allies become America's critics? This story is not about personalities. It is about structure, power, and how the world reacts when predictability disappears. At the center is a simple contradiction. The United States still has enormous military power. It still has economic weight. It still leads many global institutions. And yet, its influence is shrinking where it matters most, among allies. What we are witnessing is not rebellion. It is self-preservation. When European leaders warn Washington about sovereignty and territorial integrity, they are not attacking America. They are defending the system America once built. When allies criticize U.S. military actions at the United Nations, they are not siding with rivals. They are signaling that rules still matter to them. And when countries quietly reduce intelligence sharing or joint missions, they are doing what rational actors do in unstable systems. They hedge. This is how alliances weaken. Not overnight, but decision by decision. To understand why this moment feels so abrupt, we need to step back. We need to look at where the system came from and how its foundations were laid. The system we know today was born from chaos. World War II reshaped everything. It created the U.S.-led order that defined the second half of the 20th century. At its heart was one guiding principle: stability. The United States became the anchor. Europe, Japan, and later other nations rallied around it. This structure wasn't perfect, but it worked. And for decades, the U.S. could count on the loyalty of its allies. But even the strongest systems wear down over time. The Cold War ended. The world changed. Global power began to shift. Yet, for a while, America remained the central player. Its leadership was unquestioned. That was until a new reality set in. As Russia and China grew stronger, they pushed against the established order. But that was only part of the problem. The real shift came from inside, a gradual breakdown of values, partnerships, and trust. This erosion began long before Trump took office, but his radical policies only accelerated it. Now, we face a new type of instability, one where traditional alliances are being tested like never before. It was the first shock, Trump's aggressive move on Greenland. A land dispute between the US and Denmark may seem trivial, but the impact was anything but. The leaders of France, Germany, Britain, Italy, Poland, Spain, and Denmark came together. They issued a joint declaration. They warned Washington they would not stop defending sovereignty and territorial integrity. This wasn't just about Greenland. It was a symbol, a sign that the US was no longer the predictable partner it once was. For decades, the US had been the protector of the global order. Now, it was challenging the very principles that order was built on. And this wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a growing pattern. The world was watching. And it wasn't just worried. It was starting to act. Behind the headlines, there is a deeper hidden mechanism at work. It's not just about the drama. It's about the system itself breaking down. When America's allies rebuke its actions, they are not just making a statement, they are reshaping the global order. The pushback is a reaction to a larger shift, a shift in how the world sees the US and in how the US sees the world. Take the military offensive in Venezuela. At the UN, the United States found itself isolated. Even its closest allies condemned the move. They argued that it violated the UN Charter. This wasn't just a policy dispute. This was a breach of trust. And as the US took these aggressive steps, Europe and others began to pull back. The Netherlands reduced its participation in US-led missions. Great Britain stopped sharing intelligence. Even Denmark, a loyal ally for years, saw America as a potential risk. These aren't small decisions. These are tectonic shifts in global relations. The system that once held the world together is now being tested by the very country that built it. This is where the story shifts from abstract to personal. It's no longer just about governments. It's about people. When alliances break down, the real impact is on the people. The citizens who depend on stability, the families that rely on the safety and security those alliances once promised, the world is no longer just worried about Washington. It's worried about itself. For many, America was the guarantor of peace, prosperity, and freedom. That trust is now eroding. The reactions of the global community speak louder than ever before. They are not just diplomatic statements, they are warnings, a cry for help from those who once stood with the US. Europe, for example, isn't just angry, it's scared. When global alliances shift, people feel the impact. They see their security threatened, their futures uncertain. This isn't about blaming one man. It's about recognizing the dangerous path we are on. The global order is not just shifting, it's fracturing. The impact of these shifts isn't confined to Europe, it's global. When America's allies pull back, they don't just turn inward, they look to each other. They form new partnerships, they adapt. Take China and Russia. For years, these two nations have tried to disrupt the US-led world order. But now, the system itself is doing part of their work. As the US loses credibility, traditional allies are deepening ties among themselves. They are forming new trade deals. They are creating joint sanctions. They are building military agreements outside of Washington's influence. The world is beginning to realign, and the US is being left behind. This isn't just about shifting alliances, it's about power. The world is slowly saying, we don't need you anymore. And in the background, America is watching. Its influence is slipping. What happens next will define global politics for decades. Now, let's look forward. The question we must all ask: what's next for America and the world? There are three potential futures ahead. Each one carries its own consequences. The best scenario: America realizes the need for change. It rebuilds alliances. It mends the fractures in its global relationships. In this scenario, the US becomes a more strategic and responsible leader. It reestablishes trust and confidence among its allies. The global order stabilizes with the US, once again at its center. The middle ground: the US continues down its current path, but with consequences. Allies still engage, but with caution. The US becomes a less reliable partner, and global influence shifts towards new powers. In this scenario, America remains strong, but it loses the leadership it once had. The worst-case scenario: the US isolates itself. Its actions push its allies further away. The global order fractures completely. New alliances form, and the US becomes a marginal player on the world stage. In this scenario, America no longer defines the global narrative. The future is not written yet, but it is being shaped right now. As we close this chapter, the lessons are clear. The world is changing. The question is not if America will adapt, but how it will respond. The US is at a crossroads. It can either rebuild the alliances that were once its greatest strength, or it can continue down a path of isolation and disruption. One thing is certain: the consequences of America's choices will not just impact the US, they will reshape the world. The future is in our hands. What happens next will define generations to come. But as we look ahead, there's a powerful truth. The strength of America is not in its military or its economy. It's in the relationships it builds, the trust it fosters, and the alliances it maintains. If America loses this, it loses its place in the world. Let that be the wake-up call. And share this message. The world is watching, and so should you.